Okay, everyone, welcome to Perfectly Healthy. And so we are on episode 12, I believe. And so I'm really excited to introduce Deanna, and she has created her own therapy called block therapy. So it's very intriguing because for me, I work with a lot of emotion and I'll work here at the Center for New Medicine. And so even, when people are doing therapy work with me, they'll have release, in certain areas of the body. And then when we do our therapy work with massage, a lot of time massages, the therapist will say, oh my gosh, this person just started bursting out and crying when I was, working on them. So we know that, that the body has at least 10 times more sensory receptors than the muscle. So it should be really quite fascinating today. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So let me get here. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself, and then I'll go ahead and introduce Deanna. Now, most of you, I've been hosting the show for a little while, right? We're in season 4, episode 12. So many of you know who I am. I am the nutritionist, and also I do the emotional work with EVOX at the Center for New Medicine. I've been working with Dr. Kinley for over 23 years now. And so again, one of the things that we look at is the cornerstone of all healing platform, is really working with the body as a whole. And so not just the condition of, but again, integrating all aspects. And since we know that fascia work is going to be the kind of a webbing of all over organ systems and bones and tissues and things like this, I think we're going to have a very fascinating conversation with Deanna. So again, one of my roles here as a nutritionist is to really meet the patients where they're capable of creating a lifestyle, whether it's metabolic disorder, diabetes, cancer, or just somebody who wants to, retain their memory and anti-aging. And so, of course, I work very close with the doctors in regards to what their recommendations are, and then we go from there. So again, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Deanna because I think she's got a lot to share tonight. I hear we've got some actual experience where we can actually be part of what she's doing. So Deanna, I want to welcome you, and I know that you're a pioneer in this field. So kind of just tell us a little bit, in regards to what prompted you, what motivated you, what passion did you have to kind of enter into this work of block therapy?
Oh, I love this question, Liliana. And it wasn't something that was intentional at the moment. So this was 26 years ago. I was 30 years old at the time. I'd been an athletic therapist already for a number of years. And in my practice, I always focused on deep tissue work. And I had a very successful practice because I had really strong hands and I was very capable of finding scar tissue and working through it. But by the age of 30, my body was completely going in the wrong direction. I was 50 pounds overweight, struggling with anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and I was working really hard not to be that way. I was running, Tae-Bo, weights, aerobics, everything that I could do, dieting, and the more that I was forcing my body to attempt to create positive changes, the more compressed, the more ballooned, and the more toxic I became. So when I was 30 years old, I made some big changes in my life, which actually resulted in me having some pretty severe anxiety attacks. And it was this one anxiety attack that was the seed of everything to come. In the moment, I was so caught with fear and panic, I was frozen with my breath. And I was terrified. I actually thought I was going to die in that moment. So for some reason, I intuitively dove my hand into my belly, which, by the way, I never touched because this was the area where I carried the majority of my size and I was ashamed and embarrassed of it. I didn't even want to feel it. So now I'm diving my hand pretty deeply into the space. But the first thing I encountered was pain. And the pain took me out of my crazy thinking. So now I'm actually in my body and I'm feeling safe. And so now I start exploring in my own tissue with my hands. And this was fascinating in the moment because I was feeling what felt like scar tissue marbled throughout, even though I hadn't had any injury or surgery in that area. And suddenly I'm like, wow, well, no wonder when I'm coming home from a 5-mile run and I'm dripping wet with sweat, my belly would still feel cold. So suddenly I was recognizing that there was no energy, no blood flow getting to this tissue, no matter how hard I was working. At the same time, I was also starting the practice of yoga, and I had a fantastic instructor that about every 30, 45 seconds, she'd be reminding us to breathe. And every time she would remind us, I would be aware that I'm holding my breath to some degree. So this also became a very foundational understanding. So within 2 days of me intuitively working in this space, after that second day when I stood up, I felt taller. And I went and I looked at myself in the mirror and I began to cry because my belly was flatter than it had looked in years of trying to force it to do what I wanted it to do. So this became my new habit. I'd come home every day, I'd work on myself. Within 2 weeks, my chronic low back pain was going away, my neck pain, my whole outlook on life. So that's when I started working on my patients in a very similar manner as I was working on myself. And it wasn't long before I started attracting other therapists to learn the technique I had basically made up at the time. And it was about a decade later that block therapy came into existence as the self-care version of what I was doing with my hands.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to let you take control of the slides. I think that, you'll be able to do that, correct?
Okay. Okay. So here's me. The before picture. That was me in my 20s. And this is me actually at 50 years old. I'm 56 years old now. But this was what I was looking like when I was doing all of that very physical work to try to, create the body that I wanted. But most importantly, I had no positive outlook for my future. I was so lost and trapped emotionally inside all of the adhesions I had developed in my body. So I just wanted to give that little reference point that I've really learned this through my own body first, and then I've applied my understandings to my clients. But I just want to show some befores and after here and how profound and efficient this work is. So this was a 30-day transformation, and we were doing a challenge. So we always ask our participants not to change anything other than adding in the work. So whatever workouts they're doing, whatever diet they have, just add in this. And this was about 30 minutes of a block class a day, plus maybe anywhere from a 5 to a 15-minute alignment training exercise. And what is just so important to understand with this work is where we feel and have our issues in our body, there's cause sites that are at a distance from that. And so this is what we do when we're looking at a full body. We don't just want to go to the shoulder because the shoulder hurts or work in the belly because we want to deal with bloating. We really have to understand that we're anchored in the fascia, in the limbs, so we can really see what's going on here. This is actually a little dark shadow, but her feet here are literally holding her in a forward rotational pattern. And what that's doing is it's causing a disruption of everything up the chain. So let me just share for a moment my understanding of fascia. Basically, every single cell, we've got trillions of cells in the body, and I see the fascia as literally being the cell membrane of every cell interconnecting to every other cell. So it's the perfect communication system throughout the body. And when the two major proteins are in balance, collagen and elastin, this allows for optimal space in the body, space for nutrients to move into the cell, as well as the removal and toxins of debris away from the cell. However, if we're not aware of how to support proper cell alignment, then gravity wins. It's constantly pulling us down. We're dominant on one side, so we age in a forward rotational direction. Past traumas, injuries, all of these things add up in the body, as well as what we do with our body every day. Are we in front of a computer slouched over? Are we doing physical labor? Are we playing an instrument for hours a day, or even a sport? All of these things, they create the patterning that we have. And then what happens is the collagen component of the fascia will migrate to areas of need. So we should be having approximately 60% of our body weight on our heels. The average person has at least 80% on the balls of their feet, and that's before even putting your foot into any kind of a high heel. So as we start tipping forward off balance, it is at that ankle area that so much of those collagen fibers will migrate and grip and adhere to try to stop you from tipping over. But that locks the body in these negative patterns, holding us in incorrect alignment. So we can see here how her shoulders are forward, how the legs are angling forward, the pelvis is not aligned properly, and it's also causing the rib cage to come crashing down. And this is creating all of this internal pressure, causing compression and ballooning of the abdomen. And then if we don't have a diaphragm that works properly, I'll talk about that in a moment, basically we aren't fueling the body effectively, and we're not properly removing the toxins. So the diaphragm, of course, is a plate of muscle at the base of the rib cage. When we inhale, it moves down. When we exhale, it lifts. When this muscle is working properly, we feed the body up to 6 times the oxygen, because when we breathe through the belly, we're pulling the air deeply enough into the lungs to reach where the majority of the oxygen receptor sites reside. Most people, however, are breathing through the muscles of the upper chest. Pain, fear, and stress cause you to reactively hold the breath. And over a lifetime, this becomes a habitual way to breathe. But it's like having a space heater to heat your body instead of turning on your body's powerful furnace. Or you can even think of it, if you're somebody who likes being on a boat, as a trolling motor being like those muscles of the upper chest working, compared to having your powerful engine driving the fluids, driving the toxins out of the body, driving the fluids through the body. So with a body that's not breathing right, we become colder, we become denser, we become dehydrated, and we lose connection to making sure that we're feeding our cells most efficiently and also removing toxins most efficiently. 84% of weight loss comes through proper exhalation. So this picture here just speaks volumes, because that was me. I was the one, I was like, why are the rules of weight loss not applying to me? I'm working out so hard, and yet the harder I'm working, the more compressed, the more ballooned, the more constipated and toxic I'm becoming. So she basically really learned how to support the breath, as well as release the anchors in the hands, the feet, and the head that are basically locking the entire body out of alignment to promote optimal flow. And as long as we flow with ease, we're good, we're happy. It's when the body has a lack of optimal flow that we end up having areas of stagnancy that can create other pathogens to take home in our home, which is never a good thing. So here's just another example, 30 days again. We can just see so much change, especially in the legs here. Like all of this inflammation is held in the feet. It's holding her in this forward congested alignment. And you can just see through here, like again, all of the inflammation through here, all of the patterning of the fascia, these little grips, these bumps, this lipedema that we're seeing, that's basically adhesions locking in inflammation and toxins. And within 30 days, again, we can see the kinds of changes that we're capable of making in a very short period of time. And this is just such a great picture, because again, this shows what her foot was like before, and this holding pattern down here. And over here, her foot is so much cleaner, allowing her to bring her center of gravity back onto her heels. And then this is just a great picture. So this was taken by Tammy Goldschmidt, who's out in New York. She does these thermography images. And this before picture was of a blocker before they started blocking. The after picture was 3 months of that participant blocking, and then the after photo. And she said she's never seen anything so dramatic and so quick in change. So all of the areas of red and white, they're showing the inflammation. And of course, this is all right around where the diaphragm is. So just such a great indicator that the diaphragm's not working and the rib cage is compressing and the congestion is happening. And this will be very involved in metabolic disorders. We need to get that diaphragm working so we can make sure we're feeding all of the organs that energy that comes from the manual movement of the diaphragm. Just another example, 30 days again. I love this because when we see something on the surface, it's kind of like an iceberg. We're just seeing the tip of the iceberg, and then there's all of the stuff going on underneath the surface. And these stretch marks that we're seeing here, that's internal pressure. And it's kind of like, you blow up a balloon too many times and then you start to see the tears, almost like a leaky gut, kind of same concept. But now we're seeing this change in the after photos of these stretch marks in the belly. And then again, even the pressure around the neck through here. I love this change in through here. That's opening up the lymphatics and really supporting optimal flow. This was our 90-day challenge winner. This was I was so excited when I saw these befores and afters. One of the things she had mentioned before she did our program was she had been seeing a physio for a couple of years because of shoulder pain that never got resolved. And then after she did this program, they did get resolved. And once again, it was really taking a lot of that tension away from the lower legs to bring that center of gravity back to the heels. And the reason the feet are so important, as those collagen fibers migrate to areas of need, they basically create false walls and false floors in the body, kind of like scaffolding on a building. And because the feet are the furthest away from the engine, this is where we get patterned and locked into that alignment so strongly The fascia will, or the collagen, those adhesions will grip and adhere to everything in its pathway, including bone, with a force of up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. So that's what we're dealing with inside from a place of internal tension. You know, people can sit up straight if they're told to for a moment, but the second you're not conscious of that, we tend to just spring back into those negative alignments because of that powerful force. And it's a magnetic seal. So what we'll be doing today is getting on our towel, and I'll be talking about the shearing ways so that we can drive deep through the layers to get to the root of the issue at the bone. And then just again, another 30-day before and after, just to show it's not just women. I mean, more women are drawn to this work, but this is Walter. He's one of my instructors in Ireland now. And the changes he's made in his body from 2 years ago to now are phenomenal. But in 30 days, again, just the change here. And what I love so much, he's very fit looking, but there's a lot of compression in through here. So to have that lift of the pecs, he's opening up this area. I don't know if you can see my cursor actually. Are you seeing what?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. He's opening up this area of the diaphragm so that we're getting this lovely lift, because we want the heart and the lungs at the front of the rib cage. And he's got a lot of tension through here because of being in the gym. So then he stopped working out in the gym and he created this lift as he started integrating more of the cells into the equation to add strength into his body. And this is our last one. Yeah, and just to show that it's not about only size and shape, it's really about alignment. This is so key. She did dump a ton of inflammation out of here, but again, it's bringing her center of gravity back onto her heels, allowing for the shoulders to come back and down the rib cage, allowing for the head to migrate back, and then just the lift and the cleanliness that you're seeing in the jaw. But I just love this back photo. So these are just some examples of how efficient and fast this work is. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody before we dive in and we have a little bit of a practice session.
So, Deanna, now do you do this in a class-oriented situation with multiple people, or is this a one-on-one session?
So anything and everything. I have instructors all over the world that will teach classes. You can also get on Zoom and do one-on-one, but I have a membership where I've got multiple classes where you just join the class and you just do it at home. So it's lovely because in the comfort of your own home, you have access to everything. So we have a starter program and a membership with guided programs and just a lot of information in there. We're just actually in the middle of our 21-day breast health program right now.
Okay, I love it. And when you talked about adhesions, now when you said that when you placed your hand on your belly, that was just kind of an intuitive thing to do, and that you felt the pain and so forth, and you mentioned adhesions. Is this like scar tissue from your sports training and just that whole rigidity and the calcification, the lactic acid, and just the wear and tear mindset? Okay.
Yeah, so the injuries and the surgeries, they create the actual scar in the moment, but the adhesions they form slowly over time throughout the body. So think of if you were taking in slow motion a fall, that's basically what's happening is people start slowly falling out of alignment, and then the body is constantly adapting to stay upright. So it's the collagen that migrates to those areas of need in this slow forming way. So unlike the cut from a surgery or an injury where there's a gap, and you get the collagen filling into the space, it's slowly moving throughout the entire body. So over time, the body in general, the tissue becomes colder. And yeah, so everything slows down in our body as we go through time and age. So this process is about putting the space back into the body that time has taken away so we can rejuvenate and awaken cells previously blocked from flow.
Yeah. And especially with a lifestyle of sitting so much. I mean, we all sit so much, and as clinicians, we're always kind of leaning towards our patients as well, So, okay, well, I'm very excited.
Yay. Okay. So do you want to have a little demonstration?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So everybody that wants to actually get on the floor with me, you'll need a towel, and I'm just going to show you how to roll it up. The towel is actually amazing at doing fascia decompression. After we go through this, I'll talk about the actual tools that we use, but this is going to give everybody a very good understanding of the work. So you just want to grab a bath towel and you just want to fold it in fours. So just fold it in half, then fold it in half again. And then we just want to roll it up nice and dense. And the nice thing about this is there's only two rules in this practice, block therapy. Number one is your breath is your guide. So if I put you into any position where your breath is impacted in a negative way, where you feel stressed, that's your body saying, this position or this approach is too intense for you. So we always want to be breathing in a relaxed way. Now, having said that, we're also going to be moving into areas of pain, but pressure overrides pain and you're in control. So it's for everybody to decide what feels appropriate. And the only contraindication I would say is if you're pregnant, I don't want you doing this first position on the belly. So you can even just lie on your back and place your hands in your belly. And then we want the breath to be coming from here. So I'm going to just put a little elastic around here. But what's nice actually, if you don't, then you can also adjust the height of the roll. So if you get into a position and you feel it's too much, you can just bring that height down and then it will feel less intense. So with our tools, we always teach, we do this on the floor, but you can also do it on a bed. And we also have seated classes to assist people if they can't do the work. So I'm going to just take us through about 7 positions to get a really good sense of the opening. The first one that we're going to do is right on the belly button. So all we want to do is take our time getting in, just slowly place your body so the towel is right on the belly button and initially just stay up on the elbows. So you have a lot of control here. And then once you get into this alignment, the first thing we want to do is we want to move the belly into the towel with the inhale. This will teach us where the breath should come from. It's a little bit to retrain the breath because most people, again, have been breathing through those upper chest muscles habitually. And we also want to be breathing out in and out through the nose unless you can't. So we're going to be here for about 3 minutes. So just become aware of the sensations. Pain is a normal sensation, but again, you're in control of how much pressure, and you might even feel a pulse, and that would be the aorta that you're feeling. These are all fine as long as you're breathing in that relaxed way.
So when you're breathing in, you're pressing or allowing the weight of your belly to move into the towel.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're doing a full body push-up in a
Okay.
sense when you're
Yeah.
inhaling. Yeah. So after you've taken a few breaths, just becoming aware of where the breath should come from, what we want to do next is focus on the exhalation. We want to get that sense that the towel is moving nice and deep into the belly, allowing your body weight and gravity to do the work. This is really important because this is turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is required for rest and digest, for healing.
So when I'm breathing in, I'm allowing the weight of my body in, and when I'm exhaling, am I slightly allowing myself to pull away from it?
No, you just want to basically allow, like just exhaling. Think of squeezing the belly small with the exhale and
Okay.
thinking pregnant belly with the inhale.
Okay, got
I'm
it.
just
Okay.
actually going to just quickly demonstrate just so people can see it. When you're on your back, nice and big belly,
Okay.
and then exhale.
Okay.
And this is opposite to what most people are doing.
So the
So
the diaphragmatic breathing.
yes,
Okay.
exactly. So let's just spend about 1 more minute here. And for the last minute, let's exhale for a longer count than we inhale. So exhale for a count of 6, inhale for a count of 4. James Nestor's book called Breath is amazing, and he talks about the reason for this. We increase the carbon dioxide in the blood when we exhale more slowly than we inhale, and that's necessary to ensure that the oxygen goes from the hemoglobin into the cell. So anytime you can, think of exhaling for longer than you inhale, and that will again turn on that parasympathetic nervous system. So let's just take 3 more slow exhales here. And then when you're ready, all we want to do is put our hands under the shoulders, and you want to take an inhale first and then exhale as you come up off the towel. And that's important to do because oftentimes when people go through movement, they hold their breath. So people will try picking up something heavy, they'll hold their breath, and now they're basically making their cells work, but they're not fueling the cell. And that's when injuries can happen. So when we can move with the exhale, we keep our body in a much safer position. So I'm going to do 2 positions on the left side, then the right. So before we do this, let's just take that left arm up and go through a nice little range of motion. Just feel how that range of motion is on that left side. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have the towel. So for the ladies, it will be right under the breast. For the men, you can just find those lower ribs, so same position. And we're simply going to place our body on top of the towel here. So when we get in, let's just take the right leg out to the side as we slowly lower the body onto the lower ribs. And again, let's stay up on the elbows here. And then once in position, let's go right to that proper breath again. Let's focus on the exhale. So squeeze the belly small. Imagine the belly lifting up into the core, and then relax the belly with the inhale. And then as you start to get used to having pressure on the ribs, now remember, your breath is your guide. So I'm going to take you through some movement here, but stay with where your breath allows. So I'm just going to slowly begin to lower my rib cage. I'm going to feel a little bit more compression on those ribs. And everything we do is very slow and intentional. And now if it feels right for you, and this may be more than enough sensation for some of you, but if you want to move a little deeper, we're going to start shearing. This shearing action helps us open up the deeper layers of adhesion so we can get to them, spend a little time, melt through them, and then we'll go deeper again. So we're going to just take the upper body and we're going to gently twist over to the left. See if you can twist a little deeper and continue to focus on that full exhale. And if it feels appropriate for you, you can also lower the rib cage a little bit further. Let's take another couple of breaths here. And staying at this level, let's slowly start to migrate the upper body back to our neutral position. And then let's continue to twist over to the right. Let's take 3 more slow exhales here. Let's slowly walk the upper body back to neutral. Place your hands under your shoulders. Take a nice full inhale, and then when you're ready, exhale as you lift yourself up. And then the next position we're going to do on this left side, it's the upper side rib position. So right at about nipple height, we're just going to slide the towel right over to the side. And we're going to rest your body in a sideline position. You can support your head in your hand. And then once here, just have your knees bent so you feel nice and balanced. And then just place your top hand on your belly so that when you inhale, you feel the belly expand. When you exhale, you feel the belly contract. And then just gently rock forward and backward, just to get a sense of how this feels. And again, this may be enough sensation for many of you, but if you want to go a little bit deeper, take your left hand to the top of the mat and just walk the fingers away. And then take the top leg, straighten the bottom, and lean into the top hand. Now you're going to feel quite a bit of compression on that outer portion of the breast. So just get a sense of how that feels. This is going to be amazing to open up the lymphatics in this area.
Do you find that this is an area of more sensitivity, right along that rib cage side for people in terms of pain?
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's unique in where they feel the most sensations, but
Yeah.
this is definitely a vulnerable area for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. And now if you feel you can take this top hand, the left hand, walk it over slightly to the left. So now we're opening up this armpit area, just allowing us a little bit of a deeper access to these adhesions. And when I sit up, I'm going to explain why this area is so important to work. Now you might even want to come onto the fingertips of this left hand, and a really advanced version of this is to actually lift that left hand up off the floor. But we never want to force the body. Think of persuasion versus force. We always want to use that relaxed breath as our guide in order to let us know how deep we can go in our own body. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And then very slowly, let's walk that hand back to neutral. We can come back to our sideline position. And again, just take a couple of passes as you rock forward and backward just to feel. Just become aware of what's coming to the surface. You may even have emotions coming up to the surface. We trap and store so many things in here. And then when you're ready, let's just lean into the top hand and exhale up out of position. And then before we do the other side, let's just check into that range of motion and just notice the difference in the glide, in the range, in the quality. The reason this area is so incredibly important is when we collapse into the rib cage, which most people do, our shoulder blades are tracking up and around, and then they adhere to the ribs right here, locking us into this alignment, creating immense weight and pressure as we come crashing down into the core space, impacting our organs. So we want to have a nice, light, lifted body. So we'll do those same 2 positions on the right side now, starting right through here. This is really important. This is your liver. And so many people have fatty liver disease, partly because we're not using our breath properly. When we're inhaling, the diaphragm moves down. When we exhale, it lifts. And when it's working properly, it's giving all of the organs a continual massage, adding heat and energy. Think of butter at room temperature. It's a solid. Heated, it becomes a liquid. So when we have fatty liver disease, we have fats that are basically blocking our liver's ability to function. So when you combine pressure over time with breath, you're adding heat on the outside as well as the inside. So let's get right on top of this liver now. So same thing as the other side. Let's take that left leg out to the side for balance. And then we're just going to drape the body on those lower ribs, right where the liver is. And just stay up on the elbows and take our time just as we settle in and we feel this. And one side often feels very different than the other. It's a different organ. We're not symmetrical. So just become aware of the sensations for your own understanding of your body. Connect to that full exhale. And if it feels appropriate, you can slowly begin to lower the rib cage toward the floor. Some of you may simply want to stay here. If you want to start to twist, You can take your hands to the right and then slowly start twisting the upper body over to the right. You may even be able to lower the rib cage a little bit further. Let's take 3 more breaths here. And let's slowly start tracking the upper body back to neutral. And you can continue to twist over to the left. Slowly take the upper body back to neutral. Let's take 3 more slow exhales here. And then place your hands under your shoulders. Nice full inhale. Exhale up off the towel. And now we'll do this position on the right at nipple height on those upper side ribs. Supporting your head with your hand to begin. Placing that bottom hand on the belly. Feel the belly extend with the inhale. Become smaller with the exhale. And then just gently rock forward and backward. Again, noting the difference in sensation from one side to another. For those of you that want to go a little further, you can take the top hand to the top of the mat, walk the fingers away, and then take the top leg to the floor, straighten that bottom leg. Feel that compression of that outer breast tissue. And then if you choose, you can walk that right arm over to the right to open up that armpit even further. You may want to try coming onto the fingertips. Even lifting that hand right off the floor for the most advanced version of this position. Three more breaths here. Take that arm back to the floor. Take it back to that neutral position. Bring your body back to the side and support your head once again. And then let's just take 3 more breaths as we rock forward and backward, just to integrate the changes. And when you're ready, you can lean into the top hand and slowly exhale up. And then let's check in with that range of motion on the right side and just notice if you've made any progress or changes. So that was a little sampling of that. And there's a couple of really important things that I want to share with people that you can start and do right away as well. So I mentioned how the feet being the furthest from the engine, this was where we're patterned in. When I look at a body and I assess them, I'll always see one foot as being a driver, kind of like a flat tire, drawing the body away from balance. The opposite side ends up anchoring to create stability. But this creates the tension and torsion up the chain, and it's what causes and drives those collagen proteins to migrate to create that scaffolding. So we really want to repattern the toes. Most people aren't using their toes for balance. They're not using them properly to propel forward. They've actually connected toe strength and longevity. So we really want to work to repattern the toes and bring them back to life. I do love using a string, but you can also use a finger or a pencil. So basically all we're doing is we're putting pressure between each toe and we're holding for that 3 minutes as you focus on the exhale. And you want to go deep enough that you feel it. So I can sit here and I can do it while I watch a TV show, and you want to work between all the toes with the goal that all the toes can spread. So when you look at your feet, you'll likely see you have some toes that are closer together and that you don't have that ability to spread them apart. A really simple way to just do this, again, if you're resting on a couch or something, take a string, a rope, a cord, anything like that, and then I just put it between, and then you can lean back and you can pull, and you can hold for 3 minutes between each toe. When you do this on both feet and then you stand up, the change in your entire dynamic is unbelievable. This is the most important way we can bring that center of gravity back to the heel, because now we can bring the toes in for balance and use them to assist us in how we're walking. So that's one area that if you do nothing else, honestly, that is going to be the most impactful thing. If you do that as a daily practice, the results people are getting are phenomenal. Now, same thing with your hands. The hands, they're the second furthest away from the engine. And if you look at a skeleton, correct alignment is palms forward. But everybody's walking around with a compressed rib cage, internal rotation of the arms, and they're walking around with their hands behind them, and the hands end up curling. We hold patterns of tension in the hands. We might even have a dupuytron where the hand is actually starting to coil in, arthritis, all the things. So just like the toes, we want to repattern the fingers because we lock in with our hands. So really simple with the hands, what we can do, I'm just going to come a little closer, is we can just, between the thumb and the finger, we can just push and bring it down about belly button height so you're not scrunching your shoulders, but just relax the shoulders, push and hold. I'll do this when I'm on a Zoom call. Nobody sees what I'm doing. I'll do this for 3 minutes, and then I'll go between the second and the third. I'll hold for 3 minutes. Between the third and the fourth, this one hurts me the most. I'll hold that for 3 minutes, and then you do the last one. And because we get locked in to the extremities, when we release these, as we are moving into these deeper layers of adhesion and disrupting the current holding pattern that's storing and locking in emotion, this allows the body to release that stored emotion really efficiently and effectively. So these two things, again, are amazing. And then one more thing. If you've had your fingers in your toes, you might not want to do this, but the jaw or the tongue decompression technique, this is unbelievable because we're all pulled forward, we're all twisted. Right here is our major lymphatic drainage site. We also have our thyroid, we also have our carotid arteries. And because of people's jaws getting pulled from the whole body, but also how we chew, how we talk, we don't have symmetry here. And as we get older, the shape of the head changes. It typically becomes more narrow and elongated as pressure starts changing it. So we want to bring the breadth, the symmetry back, so we have enough room in the head for the brain, for, the eyes to function well, all of these things. So I'm going to explain it, and then I'll show you And I almost feel that everybody should just do it for 3 minutes while I'm talking, just so you can really feel it. So, unless again your hands are dirty because your fingers are going to be in your mouth. So, I'm going to take my third and fourth finger on both hands, but I'm going to put them inside my mouth below the teeth. I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So we want the fingers to go down into the soft part here, and then we want to slowly draw the bones away, down and away. We want to bring more breath in through here. That's going to open the lymphatics. So did that make sense, Liliana?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so let's all do that. Let's start now. I'm going to time us for 3 minutes. Now, as you're doing it, try and breathe through the nose, not the mouth. If you can't, do the mouth. And then also, there's two actions we're doing. We're moving the fingers down. What we want to find, like everywhere else, is the pain. So you'll probably notice one side stores more pain, one side probably also feels more dense. And usually those two are the same side. So just become aware of what you're feeling as you're doing this. You might be salivating a lot as you do this. That's just your body reacting to this. That's totally good. But we want to keep that breath, and we can create that doing this as a daily practice. I've been doing this every single day for 6 months. I can't even tell you the changes that have happened in my face, my jaw, my lips. I have people sharing that they'll have shifts in their pelvis from doing this. So now as you're here, see if you can bring the tongue up to the roof of the mouth as at least an intention. You may not be able to, but the tongue should be at the roof of the mouth, supporting the palate, where most people, their tongue is darting forward and twisting off to one side. When I'm not conscious of my tongue, it does that and it twists to the right, and then I crash down the left side of my teeth. So we want to bring, again, that symmetry and the balance, supporting the surface of the tongue to the roof of the mouth.
My saliva.
We got about 1 more minute.
It's interesting. It's like hard to get the tongue up there.
I know. It gets easier as you do it. And if some people are struggling to get 2 fingers in because of the size of your mouth, start with your middle finger and see if you can then work toward creating that space. And you will. But you will have the most amazing opening of the lymphatics, again, of bringing that blood and oxygen in and creating a bite that works for you. Because we should have space for all of the teeth. And as we age, the teeth become more crooked because everything is migrating over time. So, but we can go in the other direction, and that's what this will do. So we're going to take 3 more breaths here, and I just want you to be really intentional when you take your fingers out. Don't rip them out, because sometimes your fingers get sticky and dry, which is an indicator you're down into those deep adhesions where there's dehydration, and if you pull them out, it might hurt a little bit. So just be aware. So now let's just slowly remove the fingers. And just notice how you feel.
So what if you have a big mouth like I do? You can't quite, the tongue isn't long enough to get up there. Will it eventually do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's meant to be there, actually. And that's the thing. Just like our palms are meant to be forward,
Yeah.
our tongue is meant to be there. But that's how far from proper alignment we are.
Right.
We've all
Yeah.
gotten twisted and pulled forward
Yeah.
and down. So those are just like a little sampling of what we do in block therapy. And of course, all of these things you can just do at home now anyway. The toes, the hands, and the jaw. These are all so important. Focus on exhaling for a count of 6, inhaling for 4. I know we also have a gift for everybody, a 9-part series, I believe, where we are sharing 9 classes where we're using the towel. So you can just, again, have a 9-part series just to follow as well. But I think at this point, if it's okay, I wouldn't mind talking about the tools and why they're designed the way that they are.
Yeah, please.
They're very intentional. So the thing about the tools and why this is so important to go to the real deep level that we want. Hi.
Hi.
How are
She's your
you?
biggest fan over here. She's like, I love this stuff. I do it all the time.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I met
cool.
Deanna for everyone listening. I met Deanna, like, what was that?
That would be 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Oh my God.
I know.
Anyway, she is a lifesaver. You know, you don't want to bite off the whole body. Start with one little thing and start out slowly and do little, but it will change the way you feel and move every day. I use mine on a regular basis. It's kind of like the first thing I do when I get home, get on the floor and I just start picking body parts. And I'm excited about doing the toe thing though.
Yeah,
I just heard you
finger.
talk, so and the finger, I'm gonna start that too.
But that's easy to do while you're watching TV or just,
Yeah, so she's amazing inside and outside.
Thank you so much, Dr. Keneally. So
You're
nice to see you. Okay, so these are the tools. This is the Block Buddy and this is the Block Baby. Now, I have a factory here that we built in Winnipeg. This is elm, and these are trees that are cut down already because elm disease, Dutch elm disease, is rampant in Manitoba, but the disease is in the bark. And these are like 100-year-old trees that are massive and the wood is perfect. So we're not cutting down trees for this. We're giving them a new life purpose, which is so nice. But the reason they're made of wood is bone and wood are similar in density. And in order for us to get to the root of the issue, which is at the bone, this is where that 2,000 pound per square inch grip is really holding us out of alignment. We need a medium similar to bone to get there. All those fascia rollers that are porous in nature and where you're rolling on the surface, that's like taking a boat on the ocean. We need to deep sea dive. So we don't move, we don't roll, we stay. We're intentional, we stay, we'll shear with the breath, but that's how we really open up those deep layers. So this is the Block Buddy, and we always say if you're over 5 feet, this is the one you want. If you're under 5 feet, the baby, but we also have so many classes where we utilize both, and it is lovely to have both because there'll be some positions where, like the side waist is actually my favorite position, but for many people, because of that collapsing, they don't have a lot of space in the beginning here, so putting the bigger one may feel too much where the little one is so much more accessible. And so again, there's so many uses for both, but that's what the tools are made. And then they're very specifically shaped. They're very beautiful and rounded because we're going deep, but they have to be comfortable. So there's no sharp edges and it's lovely to work. Like we're working all the way like in through every part of your body with these. So that's the tools and they come with our starter program.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I love it. I can't wait to go home and do it. There's not enough space for me to lay down back here to do this, but yeah, it was fascinating. And I like the idea of the impact of just holding rather like in the foam roller, like what you said, it's kind of like on the surface where you're just getting that, that little fascia release, but it's not really deep. Now, and do you have like a specific exercise for every body part, in regards to the whole?
And multiple. I mean, I think I have about 15 different classes just for the feet in my membership.
Wow.
I know, like ultimately we want to get to every cell. We want to find every adhesion. We want to repattern every part. So we make it really simple through our daily guided programs in our membership. So again, I have a 21-day breast health program, which is lovely. So many of the doctors from the Holistic Leadership Council have been sharing also other stuff, and we get intentional with working here, but it's a full body program. I have a 21-day concussion program where we're working the eyes every day. Think of a trauma where you have this massive impact and your head gets jarred. The eyes get stuck in that alignment, and then we see through these distorted eyes, and then that impacts our alignment. So we change everything. We work the tongue, we work the eyes, we work the full body. So all of the programs have an intention, but yeah, the membership is filled with lots of stuff. I even have classes where I teach you how to use your hands on your body, guided hand meditations inside the abdomen, and even the fluid isometrics. So when I started my practice of this, fluid isometrics is the name that I coined for the technique that I developed. And then block therapy is the self-care version of it. But I also teach people how to use their hands in their own body. So there's lots of different things that we offer in our membership.
I love that. And so, it's a, did you say so just basically a membership that you could do all year long, or you can do just type of, courses that you're teaching and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we
Okay,
typically, we prefer people to start with our starter program because we just really want people to get really comfortable with the understanding. In the starter program, it's the basic full body program. So you really learn how to move through these layers safely in your body. And then for people that want to dive in and go deeper, then we have a membership. But even if you cycle just through our starter program over and over and over again, you keep reaching different parts because you
Right.
keep going
Yeah.
deeper. So that's the fun part of this too.
Now, are you teaching these live or are they pre-recorded?
They're pre-recorded. Yeah,
Okay,
we
so
do
you can
have
do them
live
at your
retreats and
leisure and
stuff.
things of that
Yeah,
nature, which is fantastic.
yeah.
Okay, excellent. I love it. I can't wait to go home and try it. I was just like, my body was like, oh, this looks so good. I can't wait to try it. I mean, I did the foam roller every night just because, it's just something that I do just for, lower back and just kind of the whole motility aspect. But this is great. And of course, you just got to be that mindset of it's okay to take the time to do this. Right. Because, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, you're going, okay, well, that's a 15-minute just on my feet. But again, we have to have that mindset we're worthy. And it's actually changing in regards to the whole structure and the lymphatic system, the
Yeah.
decongestion of the toxins. So it's just not, it's for one thing for like exercise or what have you or massage therapy, you're really working on every aspect of the body in regards of detoxification, circulation, the mitochondria when you're dealing with the fascia, the emotional release mindset, because we know that the body holds the score in regards of emotions and so forth. So I love it. I'm excited.
It's a therapy, an exercise, and a meditation all built into one practice. And even if you give yourself 15 minutes a day at a minimum, you
Yeah.
are going to continue to see positive changes. But what's exciting about this is, I mean, you can do it in bed. You do it lying
Wow.
down on the floor. You can
Well, there's
entertain
no
yourself.
excuses.
There's really not.
Yeah, and if you're somewhat ambulatory to some degree where you can't able to get up and down off the ground, then
Yeah.
that's everybody sleeps, right? So we can do it in that nature.
We all fall asleep on our blocks in bed. I mean, that's just, I've got a massive community and they call themselves blockaholics. Once you start, you get kind of addicted to the
Yeah.
feeling of the nervous system calming down. And I think that's
Yeah.
probably the first thing. And that was the first thing for me with my anxiety attacks. It was like, wow, like I finally found a way to get a hold of myself and to actually connect to those deeper parts of me that through my traumas I pushed away and I
Yeah.
ignored.
Yeah.
Now I brought them back into the equation. So that's where those emotional releases can happen too, because that's what happens with trauma. We disassociate from the area of the body
Yeah.
that was impacted oftentimes. And then that's where a lot of the negative emotion gets stuck. So as we
Yeah.
start bringing it all back into play, suddenly you might decide, oh, I'm going to just cry today. I don't know why, but I'm going to cry. Or you might
Right.
feel really angry, or you might even have memories come to the surface. But what's so lovely about it, unlike top down trauma work, we're not rehashing anything. We're just
Right.
going into the area and we're releasing the energy that got stuck with the breath in the
Mhm.
moment of the trauma so that
Mm.
we can free ourselves from that impact.
Yeah, I love it. I love all the somatic aspects of it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that it's slow, but because so many of us are all about what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So it just kind of
Yeah.
forces you in that parasympathetic mindset of just, it's okay to just do this.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
I love it. Okay. I think do we have any questions?
If you want to pull our slideshow back up.
Okay, I'm going to pull the slideshow back up, and then I think we have some questions, Deanna. So I'm really excited. I'm going to join because that sounds great. Dr. Kinley's over here going, I love it, I love it, I love it. And and I'm 68 years old. So again, at this point in my life, I can just, and I do a lot of weights training. I do a lot of, exercise and stuff. So, but yeah, you can kind of just say, okay, I know, I can already intuitively feel this is going to be the next level. So I'm really,
Hey, by the way, you look amazing.
oh, thanks.
I wouldn't have never thought that.
Okay. All right. Let's go to share. Yeah. Okay. So does block therapy involve rolfing? I had that done years ago and it really helped my bad shoulders. Do you have an office I can contact for consultation?
So it's not rolfing.
Yeah.
And, first of all, this isn't, I mean, I do have practitioners that do fluid isometrics on people, but this is self-care. And that's really the lovely
I love
part.
it.
And just diving into the starter program is really the place to go. We have so much support. I have frequently live calls for people to come on and ask Q&A, but we have a wonderful support as well. We have over 20,000 people in our private Facebook community where you can join and just ask questions and get the answers that you require. I've got a couple of my therapists that man the group, and then all of the people that have gone through whatever they've gone through in the group are also so supportive in their responses.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, and again, like with Rolfing, somebody's doing it to you. I love the idea of self-care
Yeah.
because that is just, loving yourself enough to take the time out to do it and to really be present, right? And then also with your tolerance of pain, because sometimes Rolfing, they kind of take you over the edge a little bit,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see. I think we have another one. I've been reading here and there about, let me just take this over here because I can't see the whole thing here. I've been reading here and there about the importance of fascia care. I'm very intrigued and am wondering if there is a connection between fascia and cellulite.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. We saw that.
And that's the really cool thing. So remember how I was talking about the foot alignment. So when we have a foot that starts migrating away, think of like you're driving a car and the right front tire is starting to get flat, and then the rest of the car gets like tugged and pulled over to that, and then you get problems in the car. So then the other side anchors. So again, that's creating twisting, and energy moves in waves and spirals. So as these collagen proteins migrate to areas of need, they're not going in straight lines. There's no straight lines in nature. They move in a spiral pattern, and then they grip to everything in the path. Those grips to the bone, that's what creates the dimples. And then more importantly, that's also an indication that now you have blockages to flow on the other side of that. So by working like in the leg, for example, which is where most often people have cellulite, really simply, we just get on the tool. And again, we work the entire leg, but even being on this IT band, this is going to help to get really deep to the bone to start releasing things. And then again, we teach you how to go through nice slow movements to really get intentional to undo those grips that created the cellulite in the first place. And then also to breathe life into those newly created spaces with the breath. So there's three parts. There's the creating space, which we've lost through time through the process, the inflating that space, which is partly driven by the breath. So think of blowing up a balloon. When it's fully blown up, it's round, it glows, it defies gravity. Take half the air out, and now you have a balloon that's wrinkled, pulls dirt and debris into the creases and becomes heavy. And that's our cells when we don't have proper breath in the body. So that's us aging, basically. So again, we can undo what time has done by changing that dynamic. So that's the second pillar. And then the third pillar is maintaining the space. So that's where we look at alignment and we understand how to support proper cell alignment. We're like a building. If we keep allowing the body to fall into those negative patterns, we keep reinforcing the patterns. So part of the process is also the training and the understanding of how to undo, but also own the space you've created through the process.
Yeah, and then of course, working with the fascia and the cellulite, you're going to increase the lymph fluid. It's going to be able to, the river's going to flow a lot better without the stagnant energy fields.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. Now, do you ever have any people mention that it helps with any kind of neuropathy, especially if it's in the feet, a little numbing of the toes and things of that nature?
Absolutely, because even fascia innervates every single system, every single cell. So even the nerve cells, if they're getting filtered with adhesion, it's like now you've got speed bumps in the pathways, and that's going to create any number of sensations.
Yeah, okay, good. Because so many people, have neuropathy, hands and feet and stuff like this. And so this is something that, is not aggressive in nature, but, just takes a little bit of conscious, thinking and time to do. So I love that.
And that toe and finger work would be the
Oh my God, I can't wait to, I'm going to be addicted to that. I already know that. Okay, do we have any other questions in the chat? Let me look really quick in the chat box. I know there was just let's see if I could show chat. So is there anything else that you particularly want to share? I mean, it says right here, are you pushing down or pulling the cheeks away? So you were pressing down, right?
Both.
With those fingers.
Down and away.
And away.
We want to create as much room underneath the tongue as possible. So we go down to feel where those hard bits are, those adhesions, and you'll keep finding them. Again, I'm 6 months into doing this as a daily practice, and I'm 6 months, I'm still finding hard stuff, but the changes have been unbelievable. Again, this is just something I started doing about 6 months ago because I've had 2 molars on my bottom jaw removed. And because if we don't keep the space, we're going to lose the space.
Right.
So, I was doing this for a while anyways, but not as a daily intentional habit. And then suddenly I'm just starting to add in that downward pressure. And what was fascinating was my lips. For about 3 months now, I've been going through quite the healing opportunity in my lips. My lips used to be asymmetrical, and thinner. And so about, I don't know, 6-8 weeks into me doing this daily, I actually had a crack occur in my right lip, and it started opening up and filling in, and my lips have been going through this wild shedding but rebuilding. I have fuller lips than I've ever had in my life. As a kid, I had a lot of dental stuff. I had nosebleeds daily on one side, so I'd created this spiral pattern in my face, and that is all undoing. And when I could see myself talking on Zoom, my jaw would always move to one side. That's not doing that anymore, and that's just from doing this.
Well, and I'm also kind of excited, as you said, as we get older, yes, everything starts to get a little longer. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be fascinated to see if that shifts for me too, right? In
Take
regards to
pictures
this.
because it's fast, and if you wait even 3 days, you're going to
Okay.
already.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I will be your role model out there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be your cheerleader for sure. Okay. I think we're getting pretty much close to, our session today with you has been fantastic, fabulous. I love it. And you are, a great model for this in regards of someone saying, see, it works. So that's always beautiful too.
Thank you.
So I guess do you have anything that you want to share before we get ready to say goodbye to our wonderful audience who stayed on with us and got a lot of great information?
My tagline is breathe and believe, and mindset is so key. And if you believe, it will actually happen. So you can believe in this practice. You will be blown away by the changes. And no matter what brings you in the first place, whether it's managing size and shape, dealing with chronic pain, PTSD, like whatever it is, you get the benefits of working with that, but then you get all of the other benefits, and they continue. I'm 26 years into doing this now. I'm still uncovering old patterns and old pains and old traumas that I'm bringing to the surface and working through, which is so exciting because it never ends. And that's to me the best part.
I love it. And you had mentioned, the starter program. So how could people connect with you? Are we going to have a link or something of that nature?
You'll have a link. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll have a link with that sampler program, but
Okay.
also the starter program. I mean, my website is blocktherapy.com, but I'm pretty certain that we've given you the links for everything you'll need.
Okay. And somebody had said, did Deanna mention a free gift?
That's it.
Oh, that was it.
Yeah.
That was okay. Got it. Okay, excellent. Okay, well, thank you. It was fascinating. I love it. I mean, I've been, doing, exercise since I was 12 years old as a runner. So, I definitely at 68 years old, I could feel a little this and that, torn ACL. So I'm really looking forward to see the changes that are going to be happening when I do this block therapy.
Oh, thank you, Liliana. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you and everybody for showing up and taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. And the next time it'll be Dr. Keneally hosting it in January. Oh, in December, right? In December. Okay, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.